We're dreamers, doers, hustlers, and thinkers. We learn on the fly, manage cash flow, drive carpool, and support each other. Because your success fuels my success. That's the way community works. I'm Katherine Hedden, and together, we're heading forward. Pensacola has a way of attracting incredibly talented people. Shannon Pauline, owner of Fiore in the downtown Pensacola SoGo district, is one of those world-class talents that we're lucky to have. The path she took to Pensacola started in San Diego, California, and included working with Preston Bailey, Oprah Winfrey, and Martha Stewart in New York.
I met a lot of floral designers in the industry then, just by the people that I worked with. And then I found this group of people that freelanced. And there was kind of this whole coalition of freelancers. And once you kind of got in, you were the freelance team that was hired by Preston Bailey and Martha Stewart and depended on. And it was a little bit elite, and I was just happy to get into the door because I could design.
Yeah.
That was one thing I knew how to do. I can read flowers, I can read colors, I know scale. It's so important to know scale.
And this is all you're just self-taught?
Self-taught.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. So, did you ever go to college?
I tried. I went for a little while.
Yeah.
Yes, I jumped around. I went to PJC for a little bit. I went to San Diego State for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't finding anything. It would have been helpful had I known what I was going to do now to take a business class.
I was going to say, did you ever take an accounting
No.
class? No.
I learned it all.
Wow.
My accountant that has been with me now for 10 years has taught me everything I know.
Oh, that's nice.
I sent her flowers the other day. It said just because without her, this doesn't exist.
Accurate self-assessment, being able to take a look, an honest look in the mirror and know not only what you're good at, but also what you're not so good at is hard. It's not fun to admit our weaknesses, so it can be scary. But as an entrepreneur, accurate self-assessment is critical to your success.
To give any advice, anyone starting a business, learn the business side. I did it the other way. I was an artist that opened up a business, and that's hard. But it can be done. You just have to really learn from your mistakes and pay attention and read your numbers, things that I never wanted to do. I was like, oh, wait, and I was intimidated by it. I was like, I don't know how to do this, but numbers are numbers.
When I was a banker, I saw so many people heartbroken because they lost their business over negative cash flow. If you don't know what cash flow is, go right now and figure it out.
We're quite frugal. We make a lot of this stuff ourselves because it's, when I go to market and things like that, I'm not easily impressed by quality. And, you know, we have a different style and I have a different eye. And I have much higher expectations.
Yeah.
And I know when I buy something, it has to have something unique about it. And so when you're shopping here, we have Cindy, who's in-house, who does all this beautiful art, and we make a good amount of the products in here. And so you're buying something that's a little more handmade, thought out, authentic. That helps with keeping those numbers a little more under control when you're making your own product.
But only if you look at the numbers. I mean, I think sometimes, especially people who make their own product, don't necessarily look at the cost of
It took me several years to do that, but now I do. Oh my gosh, on everything we make. I break down everything down to from the beginning to the end and how much time and then what are the paint costs and how many paintbrushes did we use. That's how you get your numbers.
Have you ever done something that once you analyzed it and looked at the numbers, you just said, I can't do this anymore? Like something you really loved and it just broke your heart?
All the time. The biggest thing that we've had to cut back on, we still do quite a bit, is a lot of decorating for fundraisers. And we've had to kind of pick some and not say yes to all of them because we're just not there yet to be able to do all of them. They all ask, and we would love to do all of them. So now we really try and kind of go into, kids and health and things like that. And it's unfortunate that we can't help everybody, but that's one of the things where when we looked at our numbers was how much were we giving away and how much could we afford to give away.
Learning to say no can be a hard lesson, especially if you're naturally generous or you love serving other people. No requires a level of emotional maturity that yes doesn't.
We still have to run a business. So as much as I want to say yes personally, and I have a very hard time saying no, and I think everyone in town knows that. So they ask me all the time, and even if I can't do the event, I'll do a silent auction arrangement.
What do you do when a client says, I can't afford that? Shannon's wisdom in this situation is brilliant. Pay attention because she's going to teach you how to build a loyal client base.
A couple of my clients now that are on these boards, we've come up with solutions on how not to have to spend so much each time, where we don't have to buy from scratch each time. We can take stuff and repurpose it, and that's been a big part of my learning, is how to reuse and repurpose. We don't throw anything away. I have a warehouse down the street that is filled.
Wow.
So that we're able to reuse something constantly. There's always another use for it. And then when there's not, it's time for it to go.
Did you catch that? Teach your clients how to be good customers. Teach them how to save money. They'll reward you with their loyalty. So you're in New York, you're working for the Carlisle, you're getting some freelance gigs.
Yes.
You're getting a reputation.
Yes.
I mean, you're Martha Stewart approved. I can't imagine.
It was like a dream come true.
Keeping our rooms clean.
Kids keep asking, can you buy me this? Can you buy me this?
Like getting stitches and stuff like I did.
What dangers to stay away from and what to do and what not to do.
Doing all the hard work.
Making room for everything.
Giving up personal time for your children.
Getting through all of it. Email or print gift certificates at stillwatersmedspa.com.
I love you, Mommy. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. Te quiero mucho, Mami.
I love you, Mommy.
I love you, Mom.
I love you, Mommy.
I love you, Mom.
You can get a gift card for your mom at stillwatersmedspa.com.
So I was at the Carlisle for maybe a year and a half before this freelance opportunity, and then it was really things you just couldn't pass up, because Preston Bailey would say, oh, we're gonna go to Oprah, and we're gonna be on Oprah, and you're gonna do the whole set for celebrity weddings, and you're gonna meet her, and we're gonna stay in Chicago. And then I was like, but I work at the Carlisle, and I love the Carlisle, but I knew that I was in New York for these experiences. I knew that this was my school. That's what I explained to my dad. I dropped out. He was devastated. I just was like, I'm not gonna waste your money anymore. It's not for me, it's not for everybody. New York was my school, and I was a sponge, and I soaked it all in. With Preston Bailey, you're moving $1 million worth of flowers from point A to point B, and leaving his studio and getting to the Ritz or the St. Regis. It's a big production just to go those few blocks in New York City with all this perishable product in these little tiny service elevators. And teeny carts and small hallways and the timeline. So I learned about logistics, about how to run a timeline, how to run an event. And that's how we can do so many events now, is because it is choreographed.
So it sounds like structure and process is really important to what you do.
Yes.
That the end result looks entirely creative, but without structure and process,
Yes.
you don't get that end result.
And I think our clients feel like from their point, they are so comfortable and it feels seamless for them, but that's because there's an order in place, and it starts with the color codes down to the pens and the tissue paper, and the boxes that are used for a certain wedding are all color coded. Everything's color coded down to the bucket of flowers that needs to go on site, it's color coded.
The level of quality that you create doesn't just happen.
You know, it's a whole team of people. It starts with whomever answers the phone and their confidence and the client's confidence in us, and then executions throughout the whole way.
When we started talking, you said that you create atmospheres.
Yes.
I see it a little differently. I think you create emotional experiences.
Yes.
Right?
I do.
So you create
Yes.
the visual support
Yes.
for an emotional experience. What is the emotion? So it's like, what is the emotion that this person wants you to experience when they come to this event, right? Because they're all different.
Yeah. That's my job in every meeting. I do all the meetings. I do every consultation. They're all free.
You do?
I do every single one because I get inside their head. I can read people very easily.
Yeah, I've seen you. You're good at it. You really are.
Thank you. When I start sketching, I sketch in all my meetings. That's how it all comes out, and it just starts in a drawing form first.
If you're serious about growing your business, you'll have every process documented. Documenting your business processes allows you to set your employees up for success because they know how to do their job, and it offers your clients a consistent experience. And it gives you the hope of one day being able to take a vacation because someone can step in and know how to do what you do.
I was in my mom's backyard and it was sunny. It was one of those days in January where it was probably 70 degrees. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I miss this. And I called my roommate and she said, you're not coming back, are you? And I said, no, I am. I am coming back. And my good friend said, let's get you a date for a Mardi Gras ball. There's a Mardi Gras ball coming up. And I was like, oh, great. That sounds like fun. I'm here. I'm going to take a month off. Yeah. So I went on a date with a guy I went to high school with that I had known for years, hadn't seen in years.
Yeah.
Started dating him.
It was a good date.
It was a good date. We've been married 11 years, 2 kids.
Wow. Wow.
And so I had to call my roommate back
Yeah.
a couple weeks later and say, yeah, I think you might be right. If I wanted to start this business and live in Pensacola, I needed to live there.
Yeah.
So I had to stop going back to New York as a freelancer. So I went down to Duh and got a job, and Quinn and Jem hired me. And then I just kind of did flowers through them and on the side and just sort of made my way. It wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
And it was new for them and it was new for me. I mean, so that's sort of how I got started. And then I did that for 2 years and I thought, you know, I think I can just do this. I can do this.
Yeah. I think you opened up a whole new area for them
Yes.
that they weren't really exploring.
Yeah. They were growing. I mean, Quinn's mind is forever on go. I learned so much from him from the business side, and I remember calling him after I had left and said to him, I said, first of all, I'm sorry I was such a crappy employee as far as like the business side of it. You know, when I was doing the flowers for him, I didn't quite get all of the business side of it because in New York, I was a freelancer and I learned how to do things, but I didn't know the money side of it yet and how all that worked. I was a designer and segment producer, so it was nothing to do.
So you weren't buying materials or anything?
I was, but when we worked at Martha, we didn't have a budget.
Oh, okay.
There was no budget.
Times were good then.
It was before the recession.
Yeah. What was the scariest moment for you when you first opened? Because I remember when I think back to that time, that's right at the beginning of the recession. So you had
I opened up February before the recession, and I really just didn't think we were going to make it, honestly.
So one of the things that really touches me is when we send the first rough cut to the client. And it's the first time that they're going to see themselves tell their story. It's usually a really emotional moment for them because most of our clients are not used to being on camera, and they're very nervous about how they look and how they sound, almost without exception. Every client has called or emailed and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm in tears." It's not tears of relief, really. It is the deeply held, I think, appreciation that they've been seen. Sometimes I think in life that's really all we want, is to just be seen. I'm Katherine Hedden, founder of Hedden Forward. At Hedden Forward, we create marketing for our clients that connects them more deeply with their clients, using story as the foundation. Most of our clients, when they come to us, they don't know what their unique gifts are. They don't really have a strong sense of what's unique about them. Our clients, before working with us, often struggle with how to tell people what it is they do. And especially, how do I tell people what I do in a way that lets them know that I'm better than anybody else, and that if they know somebody who needs what I do, that they should tell them about me. Your story needs to be so compelling, so vivid, and so true, and this is from Seth Godin, one of my favorite marketing heroes, that other people want to tell it for you. I walk away from every client being absolutely in love.
We opened up February before the recession, and I really just didn't think we were going to make it. Because we had just gotten accounts like Portofino had us doing flowers all over the place out there for every 2 weeks. I mean, those were our bread and butters. We had Lost Key. We had gotten all these great little accounts that kept us going to where the weddings and the weddings had just started, because it takes a little while to get your foot in the door.
It does.
I mean, there were some already very established florists and with great reputations, and so we were just kind of the new kids on the block, really.
Yeah.
Gosh,
And
there
here
was a lot.
the double whammy. It's of the reset. I know everybody knows this, but if you didn't live through it in Pensacola, there's no way you can even imagine. It's the double, triple whammy of the recession, and then Ivan,
Yeah.
and then the next summer after Ivan, there were 3 storms.
Yes, there were. I know.
That
My
were
in-laws live on the beach, and
devastating.
yeah.
Devastating. And so if you weren't here, you have no idea. It was.
Well, on top of all of that, my husband was in a terrible car
I
accident.
remember that.
And I got pregnant and had a baby.
Yes.
So I threw all that on myself at the same time, and it's survival.
Yes, I've never spoken with an entrepreneur who didn't go through survival mode. How will you make sure you make it? It's up to you to manage your stress.
My motto right now is be better. How do I be better every day? How can I be better? Because there are people that, that are running these companies that are doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I challenge myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start to get stressed out or get down about it, all I have to think about is how can I be better?
One thing.
Anything.
But here's the thing. I think that's a lie that people tell. Or at least a lie that people let others believe that they're good at everything. Because I'm here to tell you, nobody's naturally good at everything.
Right.
We can develop
Right.
skills. Like, you were talking earlier, artists oftentimes don't want to deal with structure and don't want to deal with process and don't want to deal with money. But those are skills you can learn.
Yes.
And so one of the things
Those are
that I
skills
hope that
my accountant taught me.
yes, but you took the time, you
I
made yourself
did.
learn. And so that's what I really appreciate about you, is you're like, look, I didn't have the business sense, I didn't have the business skills, but I figured out how to learn it, and I
Yes.
did it. And my
Yes.
business, I had to do this to
Yes.
survive. And that's one of the really important things I want people to know in their body, that you're not going to walk into this being naturally good at everything.
Right.
But you can either get help with the things that you're not good at or improve your own skills.
When you're managing staff and clientele, you got to check yourself in all the time. You have to stay I try and say, take the high road. You know, how would I best handle this? What is the best way to handle this? I don't do it perfectly, but what's the best route to take?
Shannon's philosophy of always doing better results in incredibly beautiful experiences for her clients. And it also resulted in a great business opportunity on Palafox Street.
She came to me and she said, my husband and I are moving back to Chicago.
Yeah.
I have this place I need to sublease. Would you be interested in going into retail? And I hadn't, but I did. I said, yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
And that was that February, and then the recession started, and our store was really kind of modern, and we didn't have a lot of products, we didn't have a lot of money. I felt like people walked in and were kind of like, are you open or closed?
You were just ahead of what was happening in Pensacola at the time.
And it was hard in that location, to be quite honest. The Jefferson Street garage was behind us. We had no truck access to our building. And that's one of the business things I started learning.
Being in the wrong business location, having space that doesn't really support your business, can be a little like wearing shoes 2 sizes too small. The job is getting done, but it's painful. Years of hard work, doing the right thing, staying focused on continuous improvement begins to pay off for Shannon as a new opportunity emerges. And now you have this new space. Well, I call it new. You've been over a year.
Over
2
a
years?
year. 1 year.
1 year. And I love it. What caused you to move?
My very dear friend and client, Terry Levin, you know, had started investing in downtown Pensacola along with the Studers. And she came to me one day, and I'll never forget the day, and said, let's do this. I want to help you. The Studers want to help you. They were developing down here. The offer to allow us to build to suit our needs, incentives to move, that you simply, why would you say no?
Yeah.
You just wouldn't ever.
What amazing support from your
It's been
community.
fantastic. And Quentin and Rishi have been so supportive. He comes in and he checks on us and how's everything going, and, you know, inquisitive and wants to help and buys flowers and sends flowers. And so it was a really nice reward for all the work that we've done, that they recognized us. This shop is so cool.
It is.
This building is the original Pensacola Electric Company, which is the first Gulf Power. It was a machine shop. It was where all the streetcars were fixed.
Oh, really?
So that door over there was the barn door.
Oh, wow.
And that horseshoe hanging up on the wall is an original horseshoe.
Wow.
That the attorney Lou Ray used to have his office here, and he found that when he was remodeling, and he passed it along to me.
Oh, nice.
But people that invest in you, I've been very grateful, and so it makes me work harder. I get up every morning and work hard.
I have to imagine that it's just your consistency in working that way and supporting people and giving them what they need and still sort of standing in your own space that earns you this support that you have. And then I also see Terry Levin and the Studers really loving Pensacola and doing what they can to support Pensacola in ways that make sense for them financially. So I think it's a beautiful thing for both of you, but I know it's hard-earned for you.
Yes, well, I mean, you have to be able to fly once they let you go, you know. You've got to, you get in and you get going, but you get out of the nest, and then it's up to you to carry it forward.
The eyes are the windows to the soul. There's just a way that you can make a connection to someone by looking at their eyes. And in a film about me, I use the techniques I learned from Jim Henson. Right out of college, I started working with him, and I found out that the puppets connected through the eyes. So I take that and I apply that to everything that I do. Especially in the films about me, we make sure that the eyes are making the connection to the audience. Yeah, my father called me outside one day. I was very young, probably 4 or 5, and he said, "Look at the light in these trees, quick, stand right here and we'll take a photograph." And the light was streaming through at a certain angle, and there was this very interesting pool of light and dappled light from the leaves, and he took a photograph, and I was like, wow, amazing light, amazing composition. I realized that I could never become a painter and live up to my father's level of painting. What I was able to do was to apply that to photography first, and then to video and film, really use all the stuff that he taught me. There was a point where I took what my father taught me and what I learned from Jim, and I added my own perspective of the amazing nature of each person. And I created my own style, my own art of connecting people through video. And that's what I do. Well, I probably picked up a video camera, probably at 12 or 13. I was hooked.
I think what keeps me on my toes is too, I still never am too comfortable in my shoes.
Personally or with your work?
With work.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you know that? Like, how do you measure that?
I get a little high strung, but I feel like if I ever was like so relaxed, like, oh, we don't have to think about this, that's when mistakes are made. I relax Saturday at around 5 o'clock when all weddings are in place.
Yeah.
And everything's done. I mean, we go back at the end of the night and clean up everything, but they're so happy to see us. I mean, it's magical what you can create.
Community support. It's how we grow. It's how we ensure our success and the success of our neighbors and our children. Pensacola entrepreneurs supporting each other. Join us.
Thank you. All right, bye. I don't know.